Hello there. In the previous videos, I discussed the causes of passive-aggressive behaviors, and in this series, we also talked about the signs of those specific behaviors. Now, if you missed out on those videos, make sure you watch them for a better understanding of this entire series on passive-aggressive behavior. Hi there. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Nachi Sinha, and in today's video, we are going to talk about the characteristics of people with passive-aggressive behavior in the context of relationships, of course, and stay connected to learn because the video might allow you to analyze your relationship and understand things that sometimes are difficult to understand. There we go. Now, the context, of course, of this is that the understanding that relationships are a crucial part of our lives. It is either a sort of a moment that makes us, or a moment that sort of breaks us. In many cases. So, if you can recollect, a passive aggressive person is somebody who might seem to consent or act properly. However, they really act adversely and in an opposite manner. Likewise, a passive aggressive relationship can happen or appear to be romantic. It can even be, with family members, or in the sense that it could be a family relationship, it could be a romantic relationship, or it could be a relationship with your friends or work relationships. But passive aggressive relation activities can range, through different levels of daily life. For example, finding excuses for not finishing, the relationship in a proper manner, or taking it to a certain conclusion. And this could include disrupting somebody's reputation and achievement. And most constantly, and passive aggressive people have a sort of a four, general qualities, if you might want to call them. They're sort of hard to manage. They're a bit awkward to encounter. They rarely express their concerns straightforward, but they do sort of repeat their concerns after some time. They kind of hold on to it. So let's move on and talk about the 10 characteristics that passive aggressive people show in relationship. Most passive aggressive individuals manifest most of the ways of sort of behaving consistently while remaining sort of ignorant or indifferent to what their actions mean or do to other people. Number one, disguised verbal hostility. For example, negative gossiping, negative patterns of an ongoing analysis of thoughts, conditions, and assumptions. Addressing a grown up like a kid. A negation of a partner's feelings and sentiments. A passive aggressive partner would intend to do this because putting others down can make them feel predominant and sort of prevalent in that situation or in that relationship, making others feel insufficient and unreliable to let one's own sense, feel free from any shortcomings. They would intentionally, or maybe not so much intentionally, but they would kind of spread their own unhappiness, and chaos and crises, so to speak. Sometimes people need a shoulder to cry on. So just to seek power and control in that relationship, they would provide that shoulder. Number two, hidden hostile humor. We talked about the signs of passive aggression, and one of them was sarcasm. Now, and this was in the previous videos, of course. I mean, if you haven't seen that, you can always go and revisit that. Sarcasm is a hidden hostile way of joking around. Now, frequently followed by a notion of, oh, I was simply joking, but repeatedly teasing the person and sort of making digs, for example, at one's appearance, orientation, or a socio cultural foundation or qualifications for that matter, or the conduct of choices or social relationships and so on and so forth. Such partners can do this with an intention to express anger, objection, or dismissal towards a person. Now, involving humor as a weapon, trying to minimize the partners, uh, and also sort of minimize their respect and validity. These all point towards, the characteristics that we're talking about here. Number 3, relational hostility. We did talk about silent treatment in one of the previous videos. Now, the imperceptible treatment includes social rejection and disregard. With the implications of harming a person, passive-aggressive partners tend to express annoyance by intentionally establishing a negative and really sort of a confusing environment, putting the partner in a difficult situation where, you kind of don't know what to do. And surprise, surprise, it does create uncertainty. Number 4, psychological manipulation. Lying and manipulation is the key characteristic of a passive aggressive person when they're in a relationship. Smooth talking, manipulating, it's the intentional sort of the button pushing because they know what buttons to push. Trying to fault the partner for causing their own exploitation. I mean, those of you who've had a chance to go through the abuse series would know what I'm talking about. Blaming, messages to kind of keep the victim thinking that they're responsible for their own suffering. And all in all, they tend to create a sort of an uncertain situation and which that sort of like a fog-like situation where it becomes a prime source, environment for deception. So imagine, like, creating the atmosphere of deception within the relationship because that allows them to control the realities of the situation. Imagine. Control the realities means what they want to be real is what they want you to see. But they create the confusion and in the process kind of remove the focus or the attention from the main issue or the main problem at hand. Number 5, guilt baiting. This indicates blaming and accusing the partner, focusing on the victim's weaknesses, holding the other person answerable to the passive aggressive behavior. Such people do this to target the victim's shortcomings and weaknesses, control and constrain the victim into surrendering unreasonable demands and requests. And all this ultimately forms unnecessary guilt and confusion for the other person. And number 6, stalling. Your partner might be, sort of procrastinating, neglecting, stalling, and keeping information about everything, about what's going on. And they do this to avoid taking responsibility and kind of also shy away from obligations and commitments. Now, keeping up with power and control by forcing, sort of these situations of not knowing what's really going on by stalling these things. Their inactive actions can cause all kinds of problems for other people, sort of intentionally obstructing others' success. Number 7, resistance. Passive aggressiveness can be seen also as a sort of stubbornness in a relationship with an unbending nature, shortcomings, difficulty, and sort of, you know, task getting installed. They do this to seek power. Aggression from a distance of uninvolved aggressiveness. For them, victory, for example, victory is what this is about, is acquired from the disappointing attempts that the other person in the relationship makes to kind of solve the problem. And the sense of like the gloomy, sort of sad sense that the person feels in that relationship, that becomes a sort of victory, if that's what you want to call it. Number 8, sabotaging. Such people tend to purposely sabotage tasks or cut off time for important arrangements in the relationship. They tend to inflict damage or misfortune physically. Now, this can include overspending, destroying positive energy, sort of like a good atmosphere, and a lack of effective communication. Why, I guess, do they do that? Because they covertly express outrage and aggression towards the other individual in that relationship. Their idea of directing implicit problems or annoying previous issues results in a dispute that is not right. Number 9, self punishment. The people with a notion of, I will show you, tend to quit, practice self harm, and even go into addictions. I mean, hurting another person by harming oneself. For them, it means to battle, sort of baffle and startle or sort of frighten somebody. Is their way of getting a compassion. Like, oh, look at me. A cry for help or, more profound issues. It could be an area of strength for them. Victimizing. A lot of people in relationships experience victimizing one partner. Their idea is to exaggerate or sort of, envision a bit of private matters. Now, misrepresenting medical problems to gain sympathy. They show themselves weak to gain attention from others. And they practice this to take advantage of others' goodwill, you know, or their feelings, or if they sense any guilt or a commitment or sort of a defensive intuition to put themselves first. Well, I mean, listening to all this, it is true. Passive aggressive partners aren't very pleasant to deal with, but there are effective solutions for any problem, and as it is for this situation, being proactive instead of reactive can be a great way to handle passive aggressive behavior. Now, that being said, I mean, if you have spotted these signs in your partner and are clueless about how to stop the passive aggressive behavior from ruining your relationship, well, then, stay tuned. I mean, in my next video, I will discuss the important aspects of how to stop passive aggression from ruining your relationship. In the meantime, if there are things that are bothering you and having an impact on you, reach out, ask for help. It does make a difference. So thank you. I'll see you in the next video in this series on passive aggressive behavior. Until then, goodbye and take care.